Check, check.
This meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Law and has been duly advertised in the newspaper as an official meeting. Roll call.
Dr. Osmond, Mr. Walsh,
Present.
Mr. McCarron,
Present.
Mrs. Rivera,
Present.
Mrs. Barocas,
Present.
Mrs. Gardella,
Present.
Mrs. Cass.
Present. I need a motion for the approval of the agenda with addendums.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. McCarron.
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera.
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas.
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella.
Yes.
Mrs. Cass.
Yes. I now turn the meeting over to Mrs. Permilli for her superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Cass, and good evening, everyone. Tonight, as we always do, we will start with our high school board rep reports, and tonight I'd like to begin with Katie from Liberty High School.
I just printed my thing from Halloween. Watch your step.
Good evening, Superintendent Permilli, members of the Board of Education, and distinguished guests. It's a privilege to be here once again to share some of the exciting things happening at Liberty this past month. Our winter sports season has come to a successful close, and we're extremely proud of all of our teams. Some of our athletes have earned special recognition, and we'd like to highlight their achievements. After hosting the Region 6 wrestling tournament, the boys wrestling team sent 4 wrestlers on to the state tournament: William Hutchko, Armani McCann, Tucker Pazinko, and Jordan Ayash. Both Jordan and Armani placed to become Liberty's 6th and 7th state medalists, and the first since 2015. Jordan placed 7th, while Armani placed 8th. Additionally, our JLHS competition cheerleaders won the next level national championship in Providence, Rhode Island. They advanced to this competition after winning the state title for the 4th consecutive year. Our athletic trainer, Mr. Grande, is in the final rounds of the Shore Conference Wrestling Coaches Association Trainer of the Year competition. With back-to-back nominations, he consistently ensures our athletes perform at their best. We are incredibly lucky to have him. Spring sports are underway, and they have started scrimmages this week. The Liberty boys baseball team had an early jump on the season when they attended the Shore Conference Baseball Coaches Association Sportsmanship Dinner. This is an event where teams from across the area gather for dinner and hear from a guest speaker. It was great motivation and inspired them for the upcoming season. Our clubs have also been very active. The Jackson Liberty STEM Academy hosted a bake sale this week, and the dance team is currently hosting a cookie dough fundraiser. Meanwhile, the PTSN is very busy preparing for our bingo gift auction. In addition, our arts programs continue to thrive. On March 11th, Liberty hosted the Jackson School District Museum Night, providing an opportunity for all Jackson students to showcase their work. This event was a tremendous hit. Earlier on March 6th, 7th, and 8th, the Jackson Liberty Drama Club presented their production of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, which highlighted the talent of many students. Liberty is also proud to support the McAuliffe Middle School Drama Club in their production of The Lion King Jr., which will be performed on March 25th at 6:30 and March 22nd at 1 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. Additionally, Liberty is hosting several important events, including the College and Career Planning Night, the School District Trade and Job Fair, and the Jackson Education Association Vision Day. These events are intended to help students succeed well beyond graduation, helping them plan for the next steps in life. We are very fortunate to have so much support and access to impressive resources. A necessary part of academic achievement is completion of state testing. Our juniors recently fulfilled the requirement of taking the NJGPA. We're confident that they all scored well. Our events are built into our days to help motivate the community as well. We recently hosted a Spirit Week to promote health entitled March into Wellness. Student Council is also busy planning events that will take place during lunch as a way to promote unity and hype everyone up about the merger that will take place next year. As much as we've been working as a community to make this year great, there are some individuals worthy of special recognition. We'd like to recognize a few people for their exceptional achievements. Sam Caponera and Catherine Spaltoff have been named Seniors of the Month, while Victor Akin Baboye and Nyla Laverian Spears has earned Athlete of the Month. Lastly, Family and Consumer Science teacher Mr. Zenervitz has been named Lion of the Month. Congratulations to all of them for these impressive accomplishments. As the first marking period of the second semester comes to a close, we are hitting our stride and are working harder than ever. AP classes are on their final stages of preparation, and committees are meeting to discuss possibilities for next year. I am truly grateful for the opportunity to represent Liberty tonight. Thank you all for your time and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Katie. That was a comprehensive, full report. I'd like to now call Colin from Memorial to the podium.
Good evening, Mrs. Permilli, members of the Central Administration staff, and Board of Education members. I'm excited to be here tonight to share some of the amazing things happening at JMHS. First, I want to give a huge congratulations to our students for an incredible showing at Battle of the Classes. The competition was fierce, the energy was high, and in the end, the juniors came out on top. A huge shout out to everyone who participated and helped make the event such a success. Looking ahead, spring sports are officially underway. Our athletes in spring track, boys and girls lacrosse, boys tennis, girls softball, boys baseball, and boys volleyball are ready to take on this season with dedication and school spirit. Some of those sports have scrimmages this week, and we wish them the best of luck. Can't wait to see all they accomplish. March is filled with exciting events for our students. This Friday, we are hosting the annual dodgeball tournament, where teams will compete in a fun and competitive showdown. It's always a highlight of the year, and we're looking forward to another great event. Last week, Shrek the Musical was a huge success, captivating audiences on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday with incredible performances from our talented cast and crew. The hard work and dedication of our students truly paid off, bringing the beloved story to life with outstanding acting, powerful vocals, and stunning set designs. Each night, the auditorium was filled with energy and excitement as the audience cheered on the fantastic performances. A huge congratulations to everyone involved. Your commitment and passion made this production an unforgettable experience for the JMHS community. Also happening this month is March into Wellness Week, a time dedicated to promoting mental health and well-being for our students. This year's Spirit Days include Tie-Dye Monday, Wear Green Tuesday, Wear What Makes You Happy Wednesday, Pink, Red, and Hearts Thursday, and Jag-Year Friday. As we continue to plan for the future, our branding and merging committees are working hard to develop ideas for uniting our schools as Jackson Memorial and Jackson Liberty come together. This transition presents an opportunity to build a stronger Jackson community, and we're excited to see the creativity and collaboration that comes out of these meetings. Scheduling for next year is also underway, and students are making important decisions about their classes. We encourage everyone to take the time to explore their options and choose courses that will set them up for success. For our juniors, an exciting night is just around the corner, Junior Formal. This year's theme is Masquerade, promising an evening of mystery, elegance, and unforgettable memories. The dance will take place at Battlegrounds on May 2nd, providing the perfect setting for a night of celebration. Bids are currently being sold, so don't miss your chance to be part of this incredible event. Get ready to dress your best and dance the night away. Lastly, our students recently had the opportunity to attend the VOTEC Career Day Expo, where they gained valuable insights into a variety of career paths. It was a great experience that provided real-world knowledge and exposure to different job industries. As always, thank you, Mrs. Permilli, and the Board of Education for your continued support. I look forward to updating you again next month. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Colin. Again, an incredible report, comprehensive. There's just so much happening for our students on a daily basis in our schools. And thank you for mentioning the rebranding committee and the students that are participating in those conversations. We've definitely have been moving forward, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. You know, Katie mentioned the end of the first marking period of the second semester already. The time is just going so rapidly in the school year. It's hard to believe that we're already there, and then we're talking prom bids, and moving forward. There's just, it's just speeding ahead of us. So many wonderful opportunities, though, for our students. I just wanted to mention a few district happenings. Some of them you've actually heard about from our high school students this evening. But first of all, I just want to make a comment that this is the time of the year that we receive a lot of retirements from our staff. You'll see some on the agenda this evening. There are several retirements on the agenda, and I believe we've approved a few at the last board meeting as well, and I'm sure we will approve more in the upcoming months. But this is the time that people put in their letters and they make their decisions, and it's not always an easy choice to make those decisions. People are very committed to our students and to our community. And tonight there's quite a few on there, and some retirements from some really long staff members' history here. Some staff members that have been with us for a very long time, some more than 25 years, that are retiring, including 3 principals tonight on the agenda. I just want to take a moment to say to all of our retirees that we want to thank you for all of your years of service, your dedication, your commitment, and the impact, the positive impact that you've had on students, families, and staff. It does not go unnoticed, and you've made a difference. I think it's important for people to know that. You've had a real positive impact on the lives of so many, and congratulations on your retirements, and best wishes. So moving on to some of the district happenings, last Tuesday night, we had our district-wide museum night. It was a lovely evening. The atrium in Liberty was just filled with student art, some of it 3D art. If you were unable to attend, please check out the Facebook post. There are some pictures. The art's amazing. I'm just always in awe of the amazing talent that our art teachers are able to pull out of our students. I loved some of the pieces that were 3D. They had a whole selfie area where students had produced art for the purpose of people standing there and taking selfies. What an interesting, smart, creative way. There was so much creativity. Some of the three-dimensional work was just incredible. I want to say thank you to all the art teachers for their daily instruction and pulling out such great work from students. And it was really heartwarming. The most heartwarming part of that evening is watching the students glow in sharing their art with their family and their friends. It's just incredible. It's a great night. If you weren't able to get there, check out the website. I also did attend the 2 high school productions, Lightning Thief and Shrek, and Colin said it well, as did Katie, just again in awe of the talent, the dedication and the commitment of our students and our staff. The creativity of the set designs and how they make things happen, the choreography, the music, the vocals were just phenomenal. I actually bring my mom to these. She's blown away by them as well. So congratulations to both the students on stage and off stage. It takes both. And to all of our teachers, advisors, and volunteers. They were incredible shows. And as mentioned, Katie, thanks for the plug for McAuliffe over there, that their production of The Lion King is on Friday and Saturday this week. And then SpongeBob Forgets is on April 11th and 12th. So I encourage everyone to get out and support our students. As our high school reps mentioned, our spring sports are well underway. I can actually hear some of the practices happening from my office, and we see students practicing about. Looking forward to getting out in some warmer weather and seeing some of our students compete. I do also want to say congratulations to our elementary spelling bee winners. Last night, 25 elementary students competed in this year's spelling bee. So impressed with these students and their strong skills of spelling that any one of us as adults may struggle with to spell correctly. And thank you to the staff who coordinated and ran that event. It's a lovely event. Also, congratulations to the Memorial DECA students. 31 members of the Jackson Memorial High School chapter of the New Jersey DECA joined over 4,600 high schools in competing in the areas of business, finance, hospitality, and marketing in an annual competition for career development. The winners will advance to an international competition in Florida, Orlando, Florida. So we have some students who will be attending that. So congratulations to them on the hard work and to the advisors and students. Just want to give a quick plug to the Trade and Job Fair, March 27th from 6 to 8 at Liberty High School. It's a wonderful opportunity to get out and hear about some of the trades and jobs that provide special maybe skills that you need to learn and or careers that do not require necessarily a 4-year degree. Also, kindergarten registration is open. Please visit our district website for more information about how to start the process for registering. And also posted on our website, we are experiencing a shortage of drivers. We've had many retirements. We need bus drivers, so please, if you know somebody who's interested, pass along the information and ask them to apply. Before I move on tonight with this evening's presentations, I just want to mention that I do want to comment on our restructuring progress. We did put out information to the community last week about the steps that we've taken forward to begin moving forward in some of those difficult decisions and the work that needs to be made. Committees have been formed. We still have a lot of work to do, a lot of decisions to make, but nevertheless, we are moving forward. We're working hard, and we will continue to work hard in making some difficult decisions, but good decisions to unite our district, and we will keep our community informed as we demonstrated last week. We will continue to update as we move forward. Come the April board meeting, we should have even more information in moving forward with some of the big decisions that we have to make. So my last comment before we move on to the presentations, As part of moving forward with making decisions for strategic planning, you'll see on tonight's agenda the appointment of 3 principals, a transfer for 3 principals for the 25-26 school year. For the high school, we have Mr. Brignola, who's being transferred as what will be the high school principal for next year, Mr. Perino, who will be the middle school principal, and Ms. Phillips, who will be the upper elementary principal. We congratulate these principals and know that they will do excellent work to develop a strong culture among the staff and the students and to help with transitions. And over the next few months, as I said, we'll continue to keep you updated as we move forward in making decisions and progress. So with that, we do have 3 presentations tonight before I conclude my portion of the superintendent's report. So this evening, we will start with our annual first reporting period for the violence, vandalism, and HIB report. And tonight, we have the Director of Security, John Pajowski, here, who will come to the podium to present that to the board and to the public. So there will be slides, so board members, you're going to want to turn around.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mrs. Permelli, Superintendent, the district administrators, and the board members. My name is John Pajowski. I'm the Director of Security here in the district, as well as the Anti-Bullying Coordinator. Tonight, I'll be doing the semi-annual report, report period 1 from September through December 2024, both on the harassment, intimidation, and bullying, and the violence and vandalism reports as well. The Jackson School District's commitment. The district is committed to creating a safe learning environment for all of our students, investigating all complaints of harassment, intimidation, and bullying, preventing all acts of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. The district is proactive and prepared to make the culture and climate in the schools positive and friendly through various programs, behavioral threat assessment, training for the staffs, for the teams, for the district, understanding school violence, the I Love You Guys Foundation standard response protocol, implementation and training through the DOE and the Office of Preparedness and Emergency Preparedness. I Love You Guys Foundation, again, standard reunification method, implementation and training, district training for all employees, and anti-bullying specialists, policies and procedures for addressing and reporting HIB, violence and vandalism, and substance use. The anti-bullying coordinator and anti-bullying specialist meetings, HIB policy and data review, HIB investigation procedures. To the left, you have the schools with their respective anti-bullying specialists. Through their endeavors, there's events and initiatives to HIB prevention assemblies at every school, at every grade level, focus on explaining that when it comes to bad behavior, we do not do that here, especially the parent guardian nights to help better understand and prevent incidents of HIB. Classroom lessons, grade level activities, character education through bucket fillers, positive programs, peer mediation, morning announcements, school spirit days, character education groups. Social emotional character education, diversity and equity, especially for the parents and students, social emotional evening or presentation of mindfulness. District-wide suicide prevention and education, climate and culture meetings, surveys to strengthen the use of data to target our programs and approaches. So with this section, just the comparison between the 2023-2024 school year and the 2024-25 school year specific to September and December. We're always looking, there's more decreases with the numbers, and I'll give you a couple minutes to look at that. And where there have been an increase, they're working on proactive and reactive strategies to continue to decrease those numbers. Same with this, same as the previous slide regarding the number of incidents. Again, looking to reduce comparative from the 2023-2024 school year to the 2024-25 school year. And for this slide, these couple different sections going on to the right. There are different classifications of actions of investigations through the HIB incidents, demeaning, offensive text messages, name calling, offensive comments, mocking, teasing, taunting, and physical. The motivations, the top section, these are the numbers that we came up that through the investigations. Motivation of founded HIBs, that's that first section. The second section is the outcomes of all investigated HIB incidents. Specific to the left is consequences, and then to the right are the remedial measures for those incidents. And that bottom section is a location of founded HIBs. It's broken down to 4 different on school grounds, off school grounds, on the school bus, and then cell phone, and then internet. And those are the numbers for that. Any questions on the HIB report?
The secondary level went up a lot
Yes.
from 24 to 23 to 24. I mean, I know you can't necessarily make a hypothesis, you know what I'm saying? But
I think
are we getting better at identifying HIBs possibly?
Yes, so what happened, I spoke to the coordinators, and they had said recently, within the last couple of years, 2 years, more programs for them to present to the students to feel more comfortable reporting stuff.
Okay.
So now the kids are feeling more comfortable in coming forward to say, this is an issue, as in before that.
And I noticed that, you know, you had 106 parent-teacher conference, or parent-student conferences compared to how many actual cases. And, you know, I want to thank every staff member who participated in doing that, because it definitely is probably a benefit for those kids.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So the drastic increase it gets is basically because of reporting?
Yes. I spoke to each school's individual anti-bullying specialist, and I asked them what they accredited that to, and they said presentation. Specifically, they mentioned the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office, their presentation for reporting. Once they had that presentation that they brought to the school, it was like an increase at all the levels. So this is the CME annual report for violence and vandalism, substance abuse, and weapons offenses in our school district. Again, report period 1, September through December of 2024. As far as a background and overview, the state of New Jersey began collecting this data in March of 2002 with the objective to collect and report incidents, data is concerning serious student misconduct in the areas of violence, vandalism, HIB, weapons, and substance abuses. So the 5 categories that we focused in on, again, compared from September, December 2023 through September and December 2024, and those are the numbers. This is at the elementary level, with respect to the fights, assaults, threats, sexual offense, and then the HIBs alleged and confirmed with all our 5 elementary schools. And this is the numbers for the report period 1. This slide is for the secondary schools, specific Getz, McAuliffe, Liberty, and Memorial. And these are the numbers respective to the fights, assaults, threats, sexual offense, the HIB alleged and confirmed, again, for the period of September through December 2024. This is the substance abuse section, and as well as vandalism, the section to the left. Vandalism incidents for September through December of 2024, we only had one at our secondary schools. To the right, the substance under influence of students, the number of incidents involving marijuana or alcohol, prescription drug, substance suspected, and refused exam. Those are the numbers for that. And then the bottom right section is the substance possession of the same marijuana, drug paraphernalia, alcohol, undetermined, and those are the numbers for that. So this slide is for weapons offenses in all of our schools, and there's a definition of what a weapon is relative to our laws. The one caveat is a toy gun is not considered a weapon, and if it's brought into the school, it would not necessarily be reported. That's more at the younger ages. And then the number of incidents compared to last year to this year went down. This is the action taken by the school district. The actions are police notification, no complaint filed, police notification, complaint filed, in-school suspension, and out-of-school suspension. And then the bottom section, I'm sorry, the impacted students, I apologize, it's student offenders and student victims. And we will continue to strive to ensure a safe district and school environment by bringing school and district safety teams and school anti-bullying specialists together to review data, using that data to plan programs and inform practices, approaches, and curriculum, building strong partnerships with the Jackson Police Department and local law enforcement, providing training for school administrators on the effect of prevention and response to violence, vandalism, and substance abuse, educating all stakeholders on how they can make Jackson schools safer, and providing community events to educate parents, guardians about school safety. Any questions?
Yes, I got a question.
Okay.
One, can you specify what exact interventions are being utilized to address the substance abuse usage?
For both the possession and the, I know they're, with the, again, talking to the specialists, prevention, they do have different speakers coming in, different organizations talking about the dangers of, not limited to like marijuana, alcohol, vaping. With that, if a student is found, there's some punitive, as well as also helping that student out with that parent, providing services for them to educate them to keep preventing that aspect of continued use.
I remember when they legalized marijuana, we saw like a big increase of marijuana use in the school. I mean, obviously that was, I think, the year before this data's in.
Right.
Did you happen to just like peek at it? Is it going back down or is it about stagnant? I mean, it was going down on here.
It has been, and
Okay.
I think, I want to say the fat of it, now that it's out, but the students are still getting in trouble. So being in the hallways and talking to the students, there's a lot of students that know that it's still dangerous, and even though some students are doing it, the other ones are kind of like, I want to get away from this. It is decreasing, and I think that also helps with the school doing these presentations, prevention aspect, but also educating parents too, that it's still not okay to do this, especially at a young age.
There was a large increase in in-school suspension versus out-of-school suspension, a large decrease. Was there a change in policy or something as far as the penalties were concerned?
I believe so. There was a shift in the model for exclusion and inclusion to also, again, educate the students to prevent them from getting in trouble or, code of conduct violations or anything like that.
Yeah, so Mr. Walsh, we obviously prefer to have our students in school and learning. And so there's an emphasis on education, being proactive, and also being reactive if an event happens, that we are educating the students on how to improve. They meet with, if it has to do with the substance, they're meeting with the student's assistant counselor, and we avail ourselves more of the in-school suspension so that the students are still having their education and getting the supports that they need to prevent this from happening again. It's the most severe cases that we have, or a case where we've done all of that and have not made progress, that we move to a out-of-school suspension. Are there any other questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Gajewski.
Thank you.
So also tonight, we're required to ensure that the board has their ethics overview and training every year, and Mr. Zittimer, our attorney, is going to do an ethics presentation for the board this evening, and I believe there's a little quiz involved.
Good evening, members of the board, members of the administration, members of the community, staff. Thank you for inviting me to speak this evening on the New Jersey School Ethics Act, the nuts and bolts of ethics for school officials. In New Jersey, school officials are governed by the New Jersey School Ethics Act, which really prescribes the ethical do's and don'ts of board members and school officials, and I'll explain who school officials are under the School Ethics Act. And I always think a good place to start this presentation is with the preamble or the opening statement to the School Ethics Act, which says that in our representative form of government, it's essential that conduct of members of local boards of education and local administrators hold the respect and the confidence of the people. Officials must avoid conduct which is in violation of the public trust or which creates some justifiable impression among the public that such trust is being violated. And what does all of that mean? It means that board members not only have to avoid actual conflicts of interest, but they have to avoid the appearance of impropriety. The Jackson School District has to feel confident that when board members act on matters, when they vote, when they participate in discussions, that they're always acting in the best interests of the Jackson School District and the students that you're serving, rather than your own personal interests, your own family members' personal interests or financial interests or interests of businesses that you're involved with. You have to be here for the students, and your action has to be reflective of that. So the School Ethics Act applies to, of course, Board of Education members, but school officials is really how the Act defines it. So it's board members as well as officers of the New Jersey School Boards Association and high-level administrators within a school district. The Code of Ethics within the School Ethics Act only applies to Board of Education member conduct. And so I've handed out to everybody this evening a copy of the Code of Ethics, and on the other side of the page are the prohibited acts. Those deal with conflicts of interest, and that applies to everybody. So the Code of Ethics only applies to board members. The prohibited acts, again, dealing with conflicts of interests, applies to all school officials. And let's walk briefly through the various Code of Ethics provisions. Section A basically says board members have to follow the law. You're supposed to uphold and enforce laws, rules, regulations of the state board, and orders pertaining to the schools. I think that's pretty self-obvious. Section B, you're here for all the students, and you're supposed to make decisions in terms of the educational welfare of all children, regardless of race, religion, creed, sex, social standing, and so forth. Section C really defines what it is to be a Board of Education member. Board members are responsible for setting policy of the school district. You're a policy-making body. That is the main function of Board of Education members. And of course, we use a policy company. They give us templates for all of the different areas that involve our school district, and it's up to the board to take those policies and shape them to the Jackson School District in the way that we see fit. The Code of Ethics says you're supposed to confine your board action to policy making, planning for the future, and appraisal, taking a step back and saying, how are we doing, setting goals for the district, setting goals for the board, and so forth. It goes on to say that you're supposed to frame those policies and plans only after the board has consulted with those affected by them. And how do you do that? You don't do that in your individual capacity. You do that through your work on the various committees. And we're obviously, at every board meeting, we hear committee reports and we hear what our committees are up to. Section D is an area where board members sometimes get themselves into trouble because I think sometimes board members forget that they are not responsible for administering the schools, not running the schools, but seeing that the schools are well run. And the Code of Ethics says you will carry out your responsibility not to administer the schools, but together with your fellow board members, see that they are well run. New Jersey Code goes on to say that if somebody were going to file a complaint against somebody, for instance, for violating that provision, what would they have to show that a board member administered the schools? They'd have to show that a board member gave a direct order to school personnel or became directly involved in activities or functions that are the responsibility of school personnel or the day-to-day administration of the school district. And here's kind of an extreme example from a case, an ethics case that was filed against a board member where the SEC, referring to the School Ethics Commission, found a violation where a board member on his own decides one day he's going to go into the guidance office and starts having all the assistants there make him copies of the SAT reports, then heads down to the locker room. This is in the middle of the school day, by the way. Heads down to the locker room, does an inspection, starts telling the PE teachers how they should be better supervised in the class, and so on and so forth. A clear violation, a clear example of a board member getting involved in the day-to-day administration of a school district, and there was found to be a violation in that particular case. Section E says you recognize your authority rests with the board and make no personal promises or take private action that could compromise the board. You have the authority to act and take action when you're sitting at our Board of Education meetings. Of course, we vote on matters through the various committees, as I mentioned before. But once you're outside this room, you don't have the authority to act on behalf of the board. You don't have the authority to speak on behalf of the board, again, unless you've been authorized to do so. And we have to be really careful about that. Board members have to remember that once you leave this room, you really don't have the authority to speak or act on behalf of the board. And if you do, it's considered taking private action. There's lots of cases where board members do their own investigations into matters, and they really kind of step outside their lane, so we have to be careful. Section F says you're supposed to surrender your independent judgment to special interest groups or partisan political groups or using the schools for personal gain or for the gain of friends. I think that's pretty obvious. Confidentiality. I always stress to my Board of Education clients that maintaining confidentiality is so important. As you know, you come across a lot of confidential information in your capacity as board members, confidential student information, confidential personnel information, attorney-client privilege communications, and the law, as you know, allows us to discuss confidential matters in executive or closed session. And I always warn my board clients that if board members don't feel confident that what they say in closed session stays in closed session, it really undermines the ability of the Board of Education to be an effective body, because nobody's going to want to have open and honest dialogue and debate about topics for fear that as soon as the meeting's over, whatever's said in that room is going to be leaked. So I always implore board members, not only is it an ethical responsibility, but it's so important for the smooth functioning of the Board of Education that you maintain and respect confidentiality. And I also go on to tell board members, your family members, your friends, your relatives, they are not bound by any of this. So you shouldn't be sharing information even with your closest friends, because we all know there's no such thing as secrets. And it always amazes me when I go to certain boards where confidentiality isn't respected, how quickly things get out into the community. And somebody may have just simply told a family member, and then the family member tells somebody, and before you know it, everybody knows what's said. And again, it really is it undermines the whole operation of the school district. The other part of Section G that's important to remember is that you have to provide accurate information. And we'll talk a little bit later about the free speech rights of board members, and that you don't lose your free speech rights to be as a board member. But it's important that when you speak about school district issues, that you're accurate in what you convey. Accuracy is very important. And if you don't know something, and if you're not sure about something, you're better off not saying it and checking to make sure that what you're saying is accurate. Section H says you're supposed to appoint the best qualified personnel after considering the recommendation of the superintendent. As you know, by law, every personnel recommendation, whether we're talking about appointing, transferring, terminating, has to be on Ms. Pormilli's recommendation. Board members cannot make motions to appoint staff, remove staff, transfer staff, etc., without the recommendation of the chief school administrator. And the Code of Ethics says you're supposed to appoint the best qualified person after considering the superintendent's recommendation. There's another section of New Jersey law that says board members aren't supposed to withhold their approval of the superintendent's recommendations, and it goes on to say for arbitrary and capricious reasons. So in other words, if you're going to vote no on a personnel recommendation, it's got to be for a well-founded, good reason, not an arbitrary one. And we can certainly talk more about that later if you have questions. Section I, you're supposed to support and protect school personnel in the proper performance of their duties. You're not supposed to evaluate your staff in a public arena like this. We're allowed to discuss those matters in closed session. To show somebody violated this, somebody filing a complaint would have to show that a board member took deliberate action which resulted in undermining, opposing, compromising, or harming school personnel in the proper performance of their duties. Section J, I happen to like. I think is a great section for board members. This section allows a board member when they're at the local supermarket and a parent comes up to them and complains and says, oh, I know you're on the Board of Education. My child's teacher is giving too much homework. Can you handle that matter for me? You're supposed to say, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'm going to refer it to the superintendent of schools who will address your concern. You're supposed to refer the complaint to the chief school administrator. Is it okay as a board member to refer a parent, for instance, to the chain of command? Yes, that's fine. If you said to them, look, have you spoken to the child's teacher, your child's teacher? Have you spoken to the principal? Have you worked your way up the chain of command? That's fine. But at the end of the day, the point is that board members shouldn't be handling these complaints on their own. You're supposed to refer them to the superintendent. And it goes on to say that you should only act on those complaints after the failure of an administrative solution. And with the administrative team in Jackson, we don't have to worry about there ever being a failure of an administrative solution. Who can file a complaint if somebody believes that there's been a violation here? And the answer is anybody can file a complaint if you believe that there's been a violation. It could be a board member, it could be a community member. The answer is anybody. Is there a time period by which you have to file these complaints? What do you think? No time period, no statute of limitations? Does anybody think there is a statute of limitations? In other words, if you don't file it within X period of time, that it's time barred. What do you think? Somebody said 3 years. I heard yes in the audience. The answer is 6 months. It used to be a year. I think the School Ethics Commission was getting so many complaints, they actually shrunk the window of time down to 6 months. So if it's not filed within 6 months, it's time barred, it's out of time. A Board of Education can't file a complaint against somebody, but individual board members could if they wanted to. And like I said before, there's a 6-month statute of limitation. The New Jersey School Ethics Commission is the only entity that can determine whether a board member or school official's conduct violated the School Ethics Act. Who comprises the School Ethics Commission? Anybody know who's this magical School Ethics Commission? Who's on the Ethics Commission? I'm not asking for names, but do folks understand how they're appointed and so forth? They're appointed by the governor. The School Ethics Commission consists of 5 citizens, 5 community members, who, again, are appointed by the governor. 2 school administrators serve on the School Ethics Commission, and 2 board members. So if you have some extra time on your hands, and you want to serve on the School Ethics Commission, you as a board member could go volunteer to work on the School Ethics Commission and adjudicate these cases. The way it typically works is the School Ethics Commission, if there's factual issues in dispute, does not actually hear the cases. What they do is they assign the cases to an administrative law judge for a full hearing. The administrative law judge issues a decision, and then it goes back to the School Ethics Commission to essentially give the thumbs up or the thumbs down. We can request an advisory opinion. So if there's a question about a board member engaging in a particular course of action, you can write to the School Ethics Commission and say, I'm thinking about doing X, or do you think it's okay if I vote on my sister's employment in the Jackson School District? And you could write to the School Ethics Commission, and they will issue what's called an advisory opinion telling you whether or not what you're thinking about doing is okay or not. The only time I've ever gone to the School Ethics Commission, just to digress for a second, is I represent a school district where a senior student got onto the Board of Education, a very unique situation. He was 18. He got elected to the board in his senior year. And my client asked me, can he vote on his teachers? Can he vote on fellow students? What are the limitations? And I scratched my head and I said, this is a great opportunity to go to the School Ethics Commission and get an advisory. And they wrote us back a very detailed letter explaining kind of the do's and don'ts of what that senior student could do. And he turned out to be a great board member, by the way. What are the sanctions for violating the School Ethics Act? At the lightest end of the spectrum, we have a reprimand, which is kind of a slap on the wrist. It's a letter from the School Ethics Commission. A censure is a resolution read at a public Board of Education meeting, kind of embarrassing for the board member, quite frankly. Suspension is exactly what it sounds like, removing the board member for a certain, or a school official for a certain period of time. And then lastly, in the most extreme cases, removal from the Board of Education. Can you file an ethics complaint against somebody who's no longer on the board? What do you think? I see some yeses. The answer is yes, you can, as long as it's within that 6-month statute of limitations that I talked about before. The only thing is suspension or removal are obviously not going to be an option because they're no longer on the board. I mentioned this before, you don't lose your free speech rights as a board member. Where board members oftentimes get themselves into trouble is, for instance, on social media, or they write letters to the paper. What you have to do, and it's right in our board policy 0146, is that you have to make it very clear when you're speaking outside this room or posting on social media or whatever the case may be, that you are speaking as an individual and that you're not speaking for the Board of Education. And what our policy says, and I want to read this because it's important, board member shall not represent his or her personal opinion as the position of the board and shall include in all formal expressions in which his or her board affiliation is likely to be recognized, including on social media, a statement that he or she's a member of the board, that the person is speaking as a private citizen, and that the opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of the Board of Education. And you should have the specific disclaimer that the School Ethics Commission recommends, which is as follows. And the disclaimer, this is kind of their model disclaimer language. So if you're going to post something on social media, you should immediately follow whatever you said with this statement, which is that the following statements are made by me in my capacity as a private citizen and not in my capacity as a board member. These statements are also not representative of the board or its individual members and solely represent my own personal opinions. The only kind of exception to this is the board president, by policy, is the spokesperson for the Board of Education. So the board president kind of de facto is authorized to speak for and on behalf of the Board of Education, but everybody else should have that disclaimer. So every year, you know I like to do a little quiz based on the latest and greatest cases from the School Ethics Commission, and that's why I handed out this Code of Ethics section so you can refer to the various provisions. But this is an advisory opinion request. What do you think about this one? Is this a true or false? A board member is permitted to review the resumes of candidates who are within the candidate pool for a position that was being recommended by the superintendent. This was a request that somebody got. I see Tina shaking her head yes. So the answer, most of you think that's true? It is true. Good. We're 1 for 1. All right. Yeah. So we talked before about the fact that board members have to appoint the best qualified person after considering the recommendation of the superintendent. And the School Ethics Commission said, as part of that due diligence, you're allowed to see the pool of candidates. You're allowed to look at the resumes. Now, you shouldn't just show up at the board office. You should make an appointment. It should be done in a secure location. You're not allowed to take the documents with you and that sort of thing. But the answer is true. How about this one? A board member violated Section D of the Act, and that's prohibited acts. D referring to the fact that you shouldn't undertake any employment or service, whether compensated or not, which might reasonably be expected to prejudice his independent judgment in the exercise of his official duty. So a board member, true or false, violated Section D of the Act when he continued to serve as a volunteer football coach after being appointed to the board until the football season ended, which was approximately 2 months after he was seated as a board. So the question is it a violation for a Board of Education member to serve as a volunteer football coach? What do you think? True violation or false, not a violation? I hear falses. Mike looks like Mike thinks it's true. You think it's a violation? I'm going with Mr. Walsh on this one. It was true. And so the School Ethics Commission says that board members are allowed to volunteer in other capacities. You want to read to a class on Dr. Seuss Day, or participate in a car wash, or kind of work backstage perhaps to set up the play. That's okay. The question becomes, how much interaction is the board member having with staff, direct interaction with staff and students? And if the answer is significant interaction with staff and students, then it's a violation. In this particular case, they found that being a volunteer football coach involved significant interaction, and that's why they found it was problematic for this person, once he got on the Board of Education, to serve as a volunteer coach. He's basically wearing 2 hats. How about this one? A board member violated Sections B and G of the Act, dealing with conflicts in those various provisions of the code, when she picked up a letter from the home of an employee who was a friend of hers regarding the employee's disciplinary discussion, which was going to take place in closed session. She gave it to the business administrator, asked him to make copies for the rest of the board, said don't make copies for the superintendent, and then during the exec session, while they were discussing that particular employee, began to interrogate the superintendent regarding the employee's actions. Who thinks that that was a problem? True. Anybody think false? And the answer was true. It was absolutely true. And here's what the School Ethics Commission said. They said that if the respondent, referring to the board member, believed that her friend needed assistance, she could have picked up the letter, delivered it to the superintendent as required, and then recused herself from the matter so that the board and superintendent could have discussed the issue without her influence following her direct involvement on a close friend's discipline matter. However, respondent instead advocated on behalf of her friend, questioned the superintendent's motives, and more importantly, specifically requested that the superintendent not receive a copy of the letter. Respondent then went on to personally represent her friend's interest in the matter before the board, and even further attempted to influence the proceedings by privately giving a letter to the board members and not to the superintendent, who was responsible for making the personnel recommendation, and then by disparaging the superintendent's recommendations. So hugely problematic in this particular case. How about this one? A board member violated Section E of the Code of Ethics. E referring to authority rests with the board and not making personal promises or taking private action that could compromise the board. Did a board member violate that when she texted a staff member and said, did you receive a RICE notice, which is a notice that an employee gets if they're going to be discussed by the board in closed session? Did you get a RICE notice? If not, I could accuse the board president or secretary or chief school administrator of malfeasance if you did not receive the notice and they want to discuss you in closed session. Is that a problem, would you say? I see Tara shaking her head, yes? Yeah, absolutely. They're undermining the superintendent, undermining the board president, and basically saying, hey, if you didn't get a RICE notice, that's a big no-no, and we can accuse them all of malfeasance. How about this one? A board member violated Section A and C of the code when he voted against amending a board agenda to swear in a new member who the board had previously agreed was going to be filling a vacant seat. So what happens here is there's a vacant seat on the Board of Education, the board conducts interviews, and at the end of the meeting, they decided the next meeting, they're going to appoint whoever it was to fill the vacant seat. And when it gets time to adding that person's name to the agenda, this particular board member voted no, and somebody filed an ethics complaint. Do you think it was a violation to vote no to add that person's name to the agenda when the board had previously agreed at a meeting before that the person's name was going to be added? What do you think? It's a little tricky, this exam. So Megan says no, board members have a right to change their mind, disagree, don't have to vote yes, and you're spot on with that. It was not a violation. And there's lots of cases, by the way, where complaints are filed against board members for the way they vote. And the School Ethics Commission universally holds that how board members vote on issues is not an ethics violation. That's up to you. That's your own personal opinion. And so I'll just read you briefly from the case. The School Ethics Commission said that board members are permitted to vote in accordance with their beliefs, and as such, it's within respondents' prerogative to vote against amending a meeting agenda, including one regarding the swearing in of a board member who may not be eligible to serve, that the board member felt. Accordingly, by voting no, respondent did not take board action to effectuate policies and plans without consulting those affected or take action unrelated to their duties as a board member. So it was perfectly acceptable to vote no. How about this one? So a board member owns a spirit wear company. And the question was, did he violate Section C, which involves conflicts of interest, when he sent emails to the school principal asking him to send emails to students and families to promote the sale of the spiritware from his company, even though he donated the materials and did not profit for them? Do you still think that that was an issue? Do you think that's a violation? And the answer is, it was a violation, true. Why do you think that is? He's donating the stuff, so what difference does it make? What do you think? He's promoting his own, he's got an advantage, right, that probably nobody else has. He's promoting his business, essentially. Even though he may be donating these particular items, they found that that was problematic. All right, last question of the night, and I think you're like really doing well on these. Last one. A board member violated sections D, E, and I of the Code of Ethics when he publicly stated at a board meeting during a discussion about a planned referendum project, "I'm going to continue to repeat this loud and clear so the taxpayers can hear this. I encourage our community to vote no on this. I encourage them to come talk to other board members and tell them to back off." Do you think that was protected speech? Okay, not okay? What do you think? Sorry, I didn't hear you, team. What do you think? True or false? Violation or false? You could just yell out. Yeah, what do you think? D is, let's go back to the cheat sheet here. D is responsibility not to administer the schools. Section E is recognizing your authority rests with the board and not making personal promises or taking private action. And then I is supporting and protecting school personnel. And I guess the thought was that this had been recommended by the superintendent, this referendum project, I guess. Do you think it's not a violation? I hear a lot of falses. And the answer is false. False. School Ethics Commission said board members are allowed to express their opinions on issues at meetings. It wasn't a violation. What it said was that respondents' opinion during the public board meeting that the taxpayer should vote against the planned facilities referendum project was not a violation. His statements did not contain any personal promises, nor is it action beyond the scope of his duties as a board member that had the potential to compromise the board at a public meeting. And a board meeting is the appropriate place for board members to have discussions and essentially disagreements. So they found that this was not problematic. Was it kind of poor form maybe? Was it a little crass? Probably so, but ultimately it was not an ethics violation. Does anybody have any questions, thoughts, concerns about anything I talked about this evening? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zittimer.
Thanks.
And board members, you now had your official training. It's required every year. So last but not least, this is the time of the year we have been working over months and months on the district budget. Tonight, Mr. Baginski, the business administrator, will be presenting the tentative budget. It is a tentative budget. It's still being worked on, but he will be sharing the information of the progress that we've made thus far. So, Mr. Baginski.
And the good news is there will not be a test at the end of this presentation, and calculators will not be allowed. So tonight I'm presenting the tentative budget for the 25-26 school year. The typical budget process for us looks a little something like this. It starts in September and October. where we engage a variety of stakeholders, including school-level and district-level administrators, to identify different instructional and operational needs. As we progress through the school year, the needs and initiatives are assigned costs and prioritized based on the level of need and the fiscal impact. Ultimately, we end up with a line item by line item analysis where we determine what the actual need is and what the actual fiscal line item will result in. However, this budget process is anything but typical. When you throw into the mix the district's redistricting and restructuring plan, the closing of Rosenauer, the decommissioning of the classroom trailers throughout the district, all these present a serious challenge to the school district and kind of mix it up this year. So where exactly are we this year? We're moving forward, and we're doing so in a fiscally responsible manner. Tonight's budget is a balanced budget, which means that we are planning our revenues to match our expenses. It is a state requirement, and we're fulfilling that state requirement. The budget will continue to provide the resources to achieve established educational goals. It's going to provide continuance of the highest quality of instruction that we've come to expect here in Jackson. We must all continue to work together to maintain the history of excellence that this school district has had and protect and preserve the outstanding educational opportunities and exceptional teachers and knowledgeable and caring leaders and staff that we have. And for that, I want to take an opportunity really just to say thank you to all the Jackson Township citizens for your continued support through the redistricting and restructuring plan and through what has been another very difficult budget season. So a driving factor for all of the budgetary decisions is student enrollment. On this table, you see a year-to-year comparison between our current year and what is projected for the 25-26 school year. These enrollment figures are based on flat enrollment of student cohorts as they move up in grade levels. These projections, as they stand now, indicate that we should expect about a 3.7% decrease in student enrollment for the 2025-2026 school year. When it comes to our projected expenses, they really get broken down into two categories. One is considered non-discretionary. These items are either mandated or required in some way, whether it be through state law, established facilities needs, such as energy-related expenses, educational programs that are determined by law, such as special education, or contractually obligated items such as salaries and health benefits. On the right side are items that are directly within our control. These items include costs associated with substitutes, technology, supplies, equipment, athletics, and co-curricular costs, and some portions of transportation, including courtesy busing and after-school activities. The spending plan for this school district includes $147 million worth of expenses that overall reflect less than a 1% increase from the 24-25 school year. The two largest categories of expenses are related to salaries and health benefits, both of which have been impacted by the district's redistricting and restructuring plan. In all, the school mergers resulted in a savings of approximately $7 million with regard to these two categories. Salaries alone would have increased by a slightly more than 3% next year. So even though you're seeing a decrease, had it just rolled over, it would have been about a 3% increase. And health benefits were projected to increase close to 17% for 25-26. And because of the redistricting restructuring plan being implemented, we've been able to keep that at an 11% increase. Also related to the school mergers and the decision to close the McAuliffe Middle School, the funds related to school budgets, facility supplies and services, and administrative and instructional support staff are reflected as very significant reductions, which have netted savings around $2 million comparably to the school year. So that's really where you captured the savings in those five categories from the redistricting and restructuring plan. Not all of the numbers are good and decreases or holding steady. Out-of-district tuition is projected for a very significant 21% increase. In spite of the outstanding work of our special education department, to continue to support the needs of our most disabled students within district programs, some students' needs must be met in a school setting outside of our district, and those schools have tuition increases that far exceed our own budgetary restraints, and with some tuitions approaching $200,000 per year. For 25-26, we are projecting to have 50 students attend an out-of-district placement school. The final two categories of expenses are related to transportation costs, with the major cost driver being the rising costs for aid and lieu for non-public students, which is increasing by $1.7 million in 25-26. As of March 5th this year, the district is responsible for transportation for 6,414 eligible non-public students. That surpassed the number of public school students that we are responsible to transport this month. And next year, we are projecting to be above 8,000 in terms of eligible non-public students for 25-26. To summarize, the major expense components of our general fund they're mostly personnel related. The large chunk of it is personnel related, where you see salaries and health or fringe benefits. We are truly a people-driven organization, and our largest expenses are related to the staffing of our schools, and that's what this chart illustrates. So how do Jackson's expenses compare to the state, and what the state calculates what we should be spending to educate our students? This is a slide that is not exactly something we should be proud of. It has been essentially out of our control due to the state aid cuts that we've experienced over the last 8 years. But every 3 years, the New Jersey Department of Education puts out and publishes what is called the Educational Adequacy Report, which updates the major data elements that make up the school funding formula. It publishes this report. The most recent report just got published last month. It's labeled as a 2026 report. And so the state uses this to see if, for school districts to measure up to see if they're providing a thorough and efficient education with the spending that they're doing. So the comparison range from what a district spends on transportation, security, facility maintenance. So all of this is factored into it, and the cost that you spend on teachers and what you pay people. And the state calculates each school district's adequacy spending and provides it on our annual state aid notice. So every year we get a state aid notice, and they put this number right on there, what the adequacy spending should be for your school district based on all the factors and where you fall. And you see in that table right there where we've fallen over the last 4 years. Most specifically, on the most recent state aid notice that said we are spending $40.5 million below adequacy, according to the state's own calculations. This is on the heels of 3 previous consecutive years of our district spending below adequacy, with this past year, the current year we're in, being $23.7 million below adequacy. And you think about this, and yet we're limited in how we could even reach that number with tax levy caps and continued state aid cuts. Why the students in Jackson would be deemed not worthy of being spent adequately is something that's hard to understand. Certainly, our students are worth every bit of the spending that they deserve and that they should be getting in terms of the adequacy calculations according to the state. Our district's revenue comes from a variety of sources, 4 of them specifically: federal and state grants, which make up about 8.7% of our total revenue. Local revenue, which includes facility rentals, tuition fees, and property sales, and the local tax levy, which now comprises over 66% of our revenue source, and state aid. And state aid is something that has been the real bone of contention if you've been at any board meetings in the last 2 years, or really the last 7 years. And the drastic reduction in state aid over the last 8 years continues to hold this school district back in terms of making large inroads to bridging that deficit. And this year, the state produced an aid cut that was equal to $700,000 less than what it was this past year. They rose our transportation aid and our special education aid and our security aid to a more normal range. But what they did, they zeroed out the equalization aid. So no matter how you slice it, we lost $700,000 in categorical state aid. Also impacting this budget on the revenue side and state aid is the state infrastructure aid and the stabilization aid that we received this year. We received it this year for this school year, great, it helped. But now as we roll into next year, it's looking as like a loss of revenue, because that's a one-hit, that's a one-shot revenue source for this year. So all told, we're looking at and building a budget that is $5.2 million less in state aid for 25-26. This is a familiar analysis, probably my favorite slide. And it illustrates the idea that this compounding effect of the aid cuts over the last 8 years. And so I liken it to when you have a job where you have two incomes in your house, and then somebody loses their job, or their job gets cut. So every year, when you cut and cut, you're losing income, and so you're losing income on the income that you've lost already. And so over time, that really adds up. And so you've heard people say that it's all related to the enrollment dropping. That's not related to the enrollment dropping. The aid during that time, the state aid, the categorical state, was reduced by 54%. The enrollment dropped 20%. So don't sell us a bill of goods that this is all about enrollment dropping. Federal and state grants, they make up a really important part of our budget. They serve a great role. These funds include the IDEA grants for special education students, the SEA grants, the title grants for economically disadvantaged students, also the state preschool grant, and smaller grants like the Perkins grant for vocational education, and also our state school-based mental health grant. These grants, we receive this money, so it shows up as a revenue, and the revenue matches our expense. So what comes in every year goes out, and that's how it works. And even this year, at the federal level, not quite sure what we're going to receive, but we budget for 85% of what we received previously as a precautionary measure. The local revenue, that includes our local tax levy, which for this year is projected to be increasing by $4.5 million, or 4.48%. This levy increase that is proposed does exceed the 2% cap this year, and it exceeds that cap because the district qualifies for a health benefit cap waiver. Because of the steep rise in our health care benefits, the state, when you put the budget in the budget software program, it does a calculation, and when your health benefits rise as much as they have for the coming year, you can be eligible for the ability to exceed the cap. And when we did that, we have the ability to exceed the cap by that amount. Many school districts in the state of New Jersey are eligible for that because of the exorbitant and sharp increase in health care benefits costs this year. Also on this, you see the very significant increase in miscellaneous income as we plan to capitalize on the closing of the McAuliffe School, and whether we do a property rental or a property sale, that hasn't been determined yet, but so that is accounted for in that miscellaneous income. So all told, the total budget is approximately $170 million. It's a reduction of $2 million from the current year, or a 1.21% decrease. It is a balanced budget, as I mentioned. It does protect things like class sizes, instructional programs. It also fulfills the obligations for our contracts and our federal and state requirements, special education, transportation. It does all those things. And in my opinion, this is a budget that maybe we all wouldn't dream of for our school district, but this is a budget that I think is fiscally responsible and is putting us on a path forward, a path to sustainability, which I know that this board and this community really wants for its school district.
Thank you, Mr. Baginski, and the hard work of many to balance the budget for this upcoming school year is appreciated. And it, as you just said, protects our programs for our students, all of our programs. And as we've said before in some of the redistricting comments, also will allow us, to start to introduce some new and expanded things as well. I just want to make comment too, this is the tentative budget. There's time for comment, there's time for input. We'll continue to work and refine the budget and move forward to the April 30th board meeting where we'll present a budget for the board to vote on. Also want to make comment to things we're hearing out there from county officials, from the Department of Education, that the Department of Ed is perhaps looking at putting something out for school districts that qualify, who are below adequacy, to exceed the 2% tax cap. We've not received any detailed information in writing about this, but did want to make the board aware that, once again, at the last minute, something might be coming down from the Department of Ed to allow for exceeding the cap of the 2% that's been in place for 7 years. Lots to say about that. We've had 7 years. We've advocated for 7 years to fix this. Yeah, I did. I haven't heard anything. Ms. Baginski, I don't think you've heard anything about them extending the budget process timeline any longer, but again, look what happened next year. It could come down the pike last minute. Okay. I don't see any other questions, so with that, I'm going to close my superintendent's report, Ms. Cass, and turn it back to you. And thank you, Mr. Baginski, for the very thorough presentation.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Baginski. That was very thorough, and I think it's also easy to follow, which is very helpful to the public. So thank you. I appreciate that. We're going to continue with standing committee reports. So we're going to start with Buildings and Grounds. We have Mr. McCarron.
Yes, Buildings and Grounds Committee met on March 10th. In attendance was myself, Ms. Permilli, Mr. Baginski, Mr. Bruno, Mrs. Cass, and Ms. Rivera. We went over a timeline for the building moves for this summer, the need for and use of seasonal workers to assist this summer with the moves, facility needs related to redistricting, gets as the 5-6 building needs chiller, HVAC, rooftop units, partial drop ceilings in hallways, floors in hallways, paint in the hallways, and we discussed a bus ramp. Memorial is 7-8 building, moving of the Promethean panels, closing of McAuliffe, and focusing on moving out this summer. Some capital improvement projects district-wide, where McAuliffe had a new gas valve and control board installed for the library unit. Getz had a AHU-2 HVAC installed, new freeze stat. Switlick Portable 4, new upgraded electric panel installed by in-house electricians. Generator had some preventative maintenance completed. Getz inspect and clean coils. JMHS Clayton installed new batteries. And Crawford Rodriguez installed new battery and block heater. The JMHS elevator installed new control board and capacitor. Elms installed new 50-gallon water heater. And district-wide lead testing. The district-wide lead testing has been completed by Partners Engineering and Science. As soon as results are in, we'll make the necessary corrections and have it posted on our website. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCarron. We have Budget and Finance, although Mr. Baginski just gave a report, but Mrs. Gardella, do you have anything to report?
I'll just say that we met on March 12th. Our next meeting is April 8th, and we reviewed the tentative budget and asked some questions that were well clarified in this presentation. Thank you.
We have Transportation, Chairperson, Mrs. Barakis.
Transportation met yesterday on March 18th. In attendance was myself, Ms. Cass, Mr. Walsh, Ms. Permilli, Mr. Baginski, Mr. Soto, and Ms. Volpe. Mr. Soto reviewed the route development plan for next year and shared the bus routes by tier with the new redistricting plan. Mr. Baginski reviewed the subscription late busing and the fees for next year. Mr. Soto reviewed the summer transportation routing. Mr. Baginski reviewed the non-public transportation updates. We're in constant contact with the LSTA, and what we're still working on what next year will look like. We discussed our school bus maintenance and replacement cycle. We continue to replace 9 buses annually, and this year's buses arrived last month. Mr. Baginski reviewed the history of the district's spotty bus radio transmissions, and all the radio systems will be replaced with the digital Motorola systems and installed, and they're going to install a repeater on the cell tower by the Johnson School. And this $350,000 project is being paid with the infrastructure funds that we received last year during the governor's budget from June. The capital improvements, under capital improvements, the other half of the Memorial Transportation Depot needs paving, so it was recommended that this is added to the 25-26 school year budget. And we also, as a committee, we asked about repaving Memorial's parking lot, and also we asked about the Johnson parking lot as well, and so this is still being discussed for the 25-26 school budget.
Thank you. Ad hoc committees, which meet as needed. We have the policy report, and I will be reading that. It's a little lengthy, so bear with me. We met on March 12th, and in attendance was Dr. Godletsky, myself, Mrs. Gardella, Mr. McCarron, and Mrs. Parmilli. Policy 5512, these were the discussions and things that happened. Policy 5512, harassment, intimidation, or bullying. It's mandated and revised. Had to do with word changes of adding surrogate when parent was listed, procedural guidance when a school must pause a HIB investigation to allow law enforcement to conclude their investigations. Policy and Regulation 5533, mandated revised, addresses the school's responsibility to report the seizure of electronic smoking devices to law enforcement if reasonable suspicion of controlled substance or cannabis. Policy and Regulation 7441, mandated revised, allows for law enforcement to assess and activate live stream video during emergency situations. Policy and Regulation 9320, cooperation with law enforcement. This is also mandated and revised. The designation of law enforcement unit in the district and the Handle with Care program, which requires law officials to notify the district when an enrolled student witnesses something traumatic outside of the school environment. Policy 5460, high school graduation, mandated revised. Student may be exempt from submitting FAFSA with a submitted district waiver available through guidance. I'm actually very happy about this personally. I wish this was in effect last year, so I advise anyone who doesn't want to fill out a FAFSA, please get the form from guidance. Policy and Regulation 5516, electronic communication devices, policy revised regulation, and new when and where students may access communication devices and disciplinary action. No videotaping is allowed. Policy 5701, academic integrity revised, recommended change in the name of the policy from plagiarism to academic integrity. Policy 5710, student grievance, revised, recommended, more detail regarding the student grievance process and its timelines. Policy 8500, food services, mandated revised, new terminology, expansion of income eligibility for free meals and additional parental notification. Policy 9163, spectator code of conduct. This is new and mandatory from the NJSIAA, requires every school to adopt a spectator code of conduct policy. We have decided immediate removal from the event and school for a first offense, 365 days. The calendar starts with the suspension from any home event for the activity of the offense. For a second event, suspension from 3 home events for that activity and all other district-held activities and events. A third offense will be a total ban from all district home events and activities. Regulation 7510, use of school facilities revisions, JHLS grant hallway rental fees increase. Policy 5756, transgender students abolished. Policy review and discussions, fundraiser and booster policies to be reviewed and revised for the new school year. Future discussions, policy 5111, eligibility and resident, non-resident students, and policy 2365, acceptable use of generative artificial intelligence. And that concludes the policy report. Thank you. Next up is scholarship. Mr. Walsh.
Right now, the scholarships for seniors are in the selection phase. The sponsors are going through the applications. The students should know in early May whether they were receiving a scholarship or not. That is all.
State and County School Board's representative report. Chairperson, Mrs. Rivera.
Next county meeting is April 30th at 6 p.m. at the Clarion Hotel in Tom's River.
Advocacy Committee, Mrs. Gardella.
Yes, we had a virtual meeting to discuss Assemblyman Zawicki's Bill A5041, which you can see as a resolution added on the agenda, the addendum agenda. It's number 18. Should I read that now or when we go to finance? Anybody? I think when we go to finance. You got it. Otherwise, we're drafting an email to send out to all Assembly and Senate Budget and Education Committee members, and we hope to be sending that out shortly. Thank you.
And that concludes all of our committees. Okay, I need a motion for approval of policy regulation first reading.
Motion.
Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Yes.
Mr. McCarron.
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera.
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas. Mrs. Gardella.
Yes.
Mrs. Cass.
Yes. I need a motion for approval of regulation revised adoption.
Motion.
Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. McCarron.
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera.
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas.
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella.
Yes.
Mrs. Cass.
Yes. I need a motion for approval of policy abolished.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. McCarron.
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera. Mrs. Barocas.
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella. Mrs. Cass.
Yes. I need a motion for the approval of the minutes.
Motion.
Second.
The closed session meeting, February 5th, 2025, the special SRRP board meeting, February 5th, 2025, the closed session meeting, February 19th, 2025, and the official board meeting, February 19th, 2025, business meeting. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. McCarron.
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera.
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas.
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella.
Yes.
Mrs. Cass.
Yes. I need a motion for approval of the bill list.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. I actually am going to start the discussion. For finance, we just want to bring something to the public's attention. Our unpaid lunch balance for the district is just over $129,000. Yes, that is the correct number. I was a little shocked. So that is a significant balance, and we do ask our families to please check their balances. We do understand that these are hard times. In the past, we have received donations toward our unpaid lunch balances, and we always appreciate the generosity of the public. So if anyone would like to donate to those less fortunate, please send your donations to the Board of Education building and notate your wishes on the check. We will update this balance monthly for public involvement, so thank you kindly. And second, we have a resolution that Mrs. Gardella is going to read. Thank you.
Adding motion number 20, the Board of Education approves the following resolution for the sale of Sylvia Rosenauer Elementary School. Whereas on December 11th, 2024, the board awarded a contract of sale for the Sylvia Rosenauer Elementary School to Tobias Yakov of Jackson in the amount of $13.1 million, subject to various terms and conditions as set forth in the bid specifications. And Bias Yakov's bid in response thereto was submitted and signed by its president, Aaron Rottenberg. And whereas the parties have been engaged in negotiations since the award for finalization of contract of sale, which has yet to be completed, and whereas the time period... Are we good? Okay. So I'm sorry. Whereas the time period for which a contract of sale was to be executed and for the sale to be completed has now expired. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board authorizes the superintendent, business administrator, and board attorney to send a final contract of sale to the representatives for Bias Yakov as prepared by board counsel, which shall be executed no later than the close of business on March 24th, 2025. And be it further resolved that should the contract not be executed on March 24th, 2025 by the buyer, and/or should the buyer fail to comply with all included conditions, and contingencies for the sale to the satisfaction of the board president, superintendent, business administrator, and board council, the award shall be deemed rescinded, and be it further resolved that in such an event, the board authorizes its superintendent, business administrator, and board council to take any and all necessary steps to effectuate the sale of the property, including but not limited to the rebid of the property, the sale of the property to other bidders, or to explore alternate uses for the property with other interested stakeholders, all of which shall be subject to final board approval.
And if anyone was looking for that, it's the blue copy on the back, was the, if anybody wanted to read that on their own, so just, it is back there. Did I do the motion? We did, well, that was discussion, right? I did the motion, so you just need the approval, right? So I just need, okay, roll call. Unless anyone else has any other discussions for finance.
Yep.
Okay, roll call.
Yep. Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas?
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella?
Yes.
Mrs. Cass?
Yes. I need a motion for approval of the treasurer's and board secretary's reports.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas?
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella?
Yes.
Mrs. Cass?
Yes. I need a motion to open public forum on agenda items only. We will hold another public forum during this meeting for other questions. This public forum will be for questions on the agenda only.
Motion.
Second.
Please sign it and state your name and whether or not you are a Jackson resident. Each person is allowed a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. No person may speak more than once on a topic until all others have been heard.
Hi, Christine McGinley. I noticed that Mr. Soto will be having a leave of absence, and at the very end, it says his return is to be discussed. I was just wondering, is there an interim person? Because I know myself as a parent, the whole changes and everything and bus routes, and I would like to know if there's like test runs planned. That was a little unsettling to see that our transportation person is going to be out indefinitely. And then also, I was wondering if there are any exit interviews conducted with all the bus driver turnover. Do we have kind of any idea why the turnover is what it is? And knowing that we have a lot of changes ahead, are there any plans within the transportation department or those of you on the board who participate in the transportation realm of how we can close that gap or get people to stay? I understand money's probably a big part of it, but they're not staying very long, so I wonder if you know why. And thank you again for all that you do. Thanks.
Is there anyone else? Okay. There's no, seeing no one else come forward, I need a motion to close public forum.
Motion.
Second.
Sure.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So you just happen to be sitting in front of some of Jackson's finest right there, the Transportation Department, who are out in force tonight. So they can give you their own opinion later in the back of the room about how we need bus drivers. Mr. Soto, this is a planned leave of absence for him. He left us in good stead. The TBD really is just a matter of determining when he will be back, but he anticipates to be back in a timely manner. We're in good standing. We have Christine Volpe and Sheila Avila, our two assistant transportation coordinators, who are both former Jackson bus drivers. They're going to be in good hands. We also are in a great place with regard to planning for next year. We just had a transportation committee meeting yesterday with the board. We reviewed where we are with the route development for next year. So, I feel like we're in a good place. We're turning our sights to extended school year and routing for that. And then, obviously, with all the redistricting, we'll be ready to go. As far as the recruitment of bus drivers, it's obviously something that we take seriously. We have postings, we've always had a posting up. Many of the bus drivers that I know that leave, they leave after they get their training. We have a really robust training program here, and we'll take people and take them all the way through getting their license, and sometimes they go through, get their license, and then they leave us and go on to somewhere else. And as far as the transportation department goes in general, I think that the bus driver sitting behind you, we have one of the greatest transportation departments in the state of New Jersey, certainly one of the biggest ones. It's a tall order here, and we have some of the best professionals in the business, and sometimes that standard can be a little intimidating for people coming in. And it's a tough job to drive a bus. We do have a posting and an advertisement out to the community because sometimes people don't realize that they wanted to be a bus driver. So if you know anybody, or if anybody who's watching tonight knows anybody who's interested, please feel free to apply, and we'll train you.
I need a motion to move finance.
Motion.
Second?
Discussion.
Yes, Ed. Hello, am I on? I had a question for Mr. Baginski on finance number 11. It says that we're declaring items with no monetary value.
Say that again?
I said I have a question on finance number 11. It says we're declaring some items with no monetary value. 2 overhead projectors, 20 replacement bulbs, 2 microphones, a camcorder, 2 projection lenses, 30 outdated remotes, and assorted wiring. I'm just wondering, is it possible to put it on GovDeals? Is that a lot of work?
So we can't get rid of equipment until we put it on board approval.
Okay.
Yeah, so no matter how old it is or how possibly obsolete it is, we put it on for a board agenda to be surplused, and then we can dispose of it or
I understand.
try to resell it on GovDeals if there's any value.
So this is the first step?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that.
Yep.
I also just wanted to make a comment on motion number 18. It was added to the addendum with the support of Alex Sawicki's bill number A5041. The resolution publicly supports, we are approving a resolution tonight that publicly supports this bill, A5041. It's sponsored by Assemblyman Alex Sawicki, who's a Jackson resident. This bill has the state providing supplemental appropriation of $106.5 million from Property Tax Relief Fund to the Department of Education to provide emergency supplemental aid to certain school districts that qualify. So whereas, as a result of S2, the Jackson School District has experienced a loss of state aid, further hindering the district's ability to meet adequacy budget as defined by the New Jersey Department of Education. And whereas the Jackson School District has experienced negative budgetary effects over the last 7 years, whereas the Jackson School District has been forced to lay off hundreds of teachers and staff and reduce programming to balance budgets, and whereas the district believes that the loss of state aid at the 2% cap for 7 years, the increase in inflation and non-public transportation has negatively affected the district budget and hindered our students to receive the educational funding necessary to be thorough and efficient. And basically tonight will be, be it further resolved that the Jackson School District Board of Education in the County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, supports this bill, A5041, sponsored by Assemblyman Sawicki, for the state to provide supplemental appropriations to those districts that qualify, which we would be one of them.
I just want to thank Councilman Palmieri for the generous donation of 115 school supply kits to the Johnson Elementary School. Again, we're always very appreciative of all of our donations and our public that help us out. Thank you. Anyone else? Roll call.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. McCarron.
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera.
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas.
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella.
Yes.
Mrs. Cass.
Yes. I need a motion to move facilities.
Motion.
Second?
Discussion?
I just wanted to mention that facilities number 3, I was reading it, and it looks like it's a shared service. The township was looking to use some of our buses and transportation services for Jackson Day. And I just thought that that was something that I'd like to point out for the municipality supporting the schools.
Roll call.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. McCarron.
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera.
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas.
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella.
Yes.
Mrs. Cass.
I need a motion to move programs.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. McCarron.
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera.
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas.
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella.
Yes.
Mrs. Cass.
Yes. I need a motion to move students.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. McCarron.
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera.
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas.
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella.
Yes.
Mrs. Cass.
Yes. I need a motion to move personnel.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. McCarron.
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera.
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas.
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella.
Abstain from 15M, like Mary. Yes to everything else.
Mrs. Cass.
Yes. I need a motion to open public forum on any topic pertaining to the Board of Education.
Motion.
Second.
Please sign in and state your name and whether or not you are a Jackson resident. Each person is allowed a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. No person may speak more than once on a topic until all others have been heard.
Hello, good evening. Andrea Frangella, district mom and work in the buildings. This really isn't a Board of Ed question per se, but I think it's something that needs to be discussed along with all the PTA presidents, and I know that you usually have like a quarterly meeting with them. Now that the schools are changing, the 5th and 6th graders are going to one building, and the 7th and 8th are going to another. I think the PTA from the elementary schools and maybe even the middle schools need to figure out how they're gonna hopefully help fund the PTA of the 5th and 6th grade building, because right now they're kind of displaced children. They're not elementary, they're not middle school. So I just hope that that's a discussion of how we can at least give them something to start with for the school year, just so they're not starting with 0. Just something I wanted to bring up. So thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no one come forward, I need a motion to close public forum.
Motion.
Second.
So yes, that's exactly the plan. Thank you for the comment and for always thinking about our kiddos. We have an upcoming President Council meeting, and we're going to invite some other folks to that meeting with us. I believe it's April 6th or 9th, right, April 9th. We were actually just talking about this today. So we will make sure that that dialogue and conversation is happening at that meeting and will continue to happen. So and thank you for advocating for our kids.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to have board comments. We will start down at the end with Mr. Walsh.
It's kind of a regretful thing that I see so many retirements of people I worked with for many, many, many years, okay? I don't want to mention anybody specific, okay, but you'll enjoy it. And I came to see Shrek here, okay, and my wife was amazed at the talent that we have in this building, absolutely amazed. Okay, we got some tough decisions to make in front of us, and I think we'll be in the right direction.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight and watching at home, and have a good night.
Oh, I want to thank you all for coming out and viewing us meeting on live stream, your input, presentations, and the comments. And I want to thank you and best wishes to all on all retirements, and everyone have a wonderful evening.
I had the opportunity to attend the Jackson Liberty musical of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, and of course, it was amazing as always. I always say we should be charging more for those tickets because it's really, you're going to see these kids on Broadway one day. Between the actors and the lighting and the stage crew and the musicians, it's just wonderful. And I'm looking forward to seeing The Lion King Jr. this Saturday for McCullough, so I hope to see many of you there. And I also want to thank Mr. Baginski and everyone up above for working on the budget. I know that is, definitely not a small task, and we really, you guys are doing an amazing job, and we back you up 100%. So thank you for all you do. And have a good night, everyone.
I also wanted to wish well all the retirements. Thank you for your time here and best wishes on your next chapter. I too saw the plays and I mean, incredible. I saw both high school plays. Each one of them were jaw-dropping and it's really a kudos to everybody, staff, parents, students, tremendous work. And I agree, Allison, we could see some of those players on Broadway. I want to also congratulate all our winter athletics that ended their state championship spots. And I'm really excited, and I wanted to just say that, again, I think it's great that Mr. Palumbo and the Jackson administration have put on a vocational and career fair next week, and I hope you guys get a great turnout. Have a great night.
The same, I want to wish all the retirements the best of luck and thank you for your service. I'm sure you've impacted many students over your years, and so it's, it's a wonderful thing. I did see the play as well. I saw Percy Jackson. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see Shrek, but again, our talent it's amazing. I can't get over all the things that they do. So it's just wonderful. And I need to put a shout out to DECA because it's near and dear to my heart. So, and wish them good luck in the Nationals. That's coming up in Florida. And thank everyone else for coming. And with that, we are going to go back into executive session for matters of confidentiality and student confidentiality. No further action will be taken when we come back out here, just to adjourn. So matters of client privilege, right? Attorney-client privilege. Couldn't read my own chicken scratch. But so when we do come back out here, we will really just be adjourning the final meeting, but we need to go back in for executive session. So thank you again. I need a motion. Motion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?